You know that one meal, your go-to comfort food that you've probably eaten 100 times? Well, have you ever actually stopped to think about where it comes from? For one person, a simple bowl of noodles, something he ate all the time, sparked this totally unexpected adventure across the border. And it all started with one single nagging thought. And there it is. That's the thought that kicked this whole thing off. So, picture this. He's at a mall with his mom, buying the same Pontian noodles he's been buying for years, and then it just hits him. It's such a simple realization, right? But it's that tiny little spark that's about to ignite a full-blown quest. So let's get the backstory here. These noodles have been a staple for him since way back in 2009. It was the regular pre-church meal. Not because they were some gourmet, life-changing dish, but because, in his own words, they were just cheap and decent. He knew the noodles inside and out, but he knew absolutely nothing about the town they were named after, Pontian. And just like that, an idea for a trip was born. Now, this could have just been a simple solo trip, right? He reaches out to a few friends in Singapore, thinking maybe one or two would be down for a random weekend getaway. But the response he got, well, let's just say it was a lot bigger than he expected. That's right, 8 people. What started as just a random thought ballooning in his head had suddenly turned into a full-on group expedition. Just enough people, as he pointed out, to perfectly fit into 2 grab cars if they needed to. The fellowship was formed. And here's the crew. And get this wasn't just some local get-together. Friends like Alvin and Susan actually flew in from overseas to join this spontaneous noodle quest. That's when you know it was never really about the food. It was the perfect excuse for a reunion of friends who'd known each other for 30 years. So, with the team assembled, the day of departure arrives. And, like any truly great adventure, it kicked off with just a little bit of chaos. This was not some smooth, leisurely stroll across the border. Oh no, this was a mad dash. And their start was pure, unadulterated chaos. First, they missed their intended bus. Then they have to literally scramble for a different one, and then jump on the MRT to get towards the checkpoint. It was this whole multi-stage race against the clock just to get out of the country. But hey, you can't say they weren't determined. After all that rushing, the team finally unites for a quick breakfast at Restaurant Kin Hua over in Johor Bahru. But there's no time to relax. They grab their rides and head straight for the Larkin Central bus interchange, ready for that final leg of their journey to Pontian. And they've made it. After a bus ride of about an hour and a half, the group finally arrives in Pontian Kechil. This is it. The destination of their pilgrimage, the home of the legendary noodles they've been chasing. But before they even get to the food, they notice something kind of quirky about the town. It's covered in pineapples. I'm talking statues, pictures. It really seems to be the town's official mascot. It's a quiet little place, but they're not here for the fruit. It is time for the main event. And here it is, Hang Original Tomato Wonton Mee. This is ground zero for their entire noodle quest. After all this travel, you can imagine the anticipation is sky high. What is the original actually going to taste like? And the verdict is? It was all right. Yep, after all that effort, the missed buses, the border crossing, the final bus ride, the legendary noodle that started this whole thing was just okay. He tried both the tomato version and the soy sauce one, and the reaction was surprisingly mild. And, that's the moment of truth. Maybe this quest was never really about the noodles after all. So, with the main objective complete, and, let's be honest, a little underwhelming, the trip takes a totally spontaneous turn. The group decides to head back towards the much livelier city of Johor Bahru, and that's where the real adventure was about to unfold. So back in JB, a new, kind of ambitious and, let's be real, slightly wild idea starts to brew. Think about it. They were in Singapore in the morning, Malaysia for lunch. Could they actually manage to visit 3 different countries in a single day? So the plan was to make a mad dash to the ferry terminal and catch the very last boat to Batam, Indonesia. But in a classic travel story twist, it just wasn't meant to be. A massive traffic jam meant they arrived just moments after the last ferry had already departed. So close. So instead of hitting another country, they settled in for an absolutely amazing evening in JB, and honestly, this is where the real magic of the trip happened. There was a huge seafood dinner, a last-minute booking of a massive Airbnb, and even a side quest for durian. Well, for everyone except the author, apparently. It all wrapped up with late-night talks, just friends catching up and being themselves. And this really says it all, doesn't it? The whole noodle pilgrimage thing was just the excuse. The real reason for the trip was to reconnect, share stories, and just enjoy that easy comfort that only comes with 3 decades of friendship. But hold on, the story isn't quite over yet. Back in Singapore, our author decides to conduct one final experiment, to settle this noodle question once and for all. He and his friend Alvin actually sit down at a mall for a direct side-by-side taste test, the Singapore version versus their memory of the original. And their verdicts could not be more different. The author, he stands by the local Singapore version, but Alvin, he insists the original back in Pontian was way, way better. So, which one is really better? Well, maybe we'll never know. And you know what? Perhaps that's the whole point. The quest was never truly about finding the best noodle. It was about the journey, the chaos, the laughter, and the friends you get to share it all with. It just goes to show you, sometimes the silliest reason for a trip can turn into the most meaningful adventure of all.